It's 2:38 a.m., January 17th, 1991. The desert is still, cold, black as ink, and then a low hum, almost like a heartbeat. 8 helicopters glide through the night. No lights, no radio chatter, just the vibration of metal, the pulse of rotors slicing through the silence. Inside one of those helicopters, a young Apache pilot named Tom Drew grips the controls. He can barely see beyond the dim green glow of his cockpit screen. He's flying into Iraq behind enemy lines, and he knows, if they're spotted, the entire war could fail before it even begins. In less than 30 minutes, the first shot of Operation Desert Storm will be fired. But not by a jet, not by a tank. By these 8 men, flying low through the darkness. This is how the Gulf War truly began, in silence, in shadows, with a mission that almost no one knew about. And what they did that night changed modern warfare forever. To understand why those helicopters were flying in the dark, we have to go back 6 months earlier, August 2nd, 1990. It's just before dawn. The desert is quiet until it isn't. Iraqi tanks, thousands of them, rumble across the border into Kuwait. Columns of armored vehicles stretch for miles. T-55s, T-72s, trucks, infantry carriers. By the time the sun rises, they've reached Kuwait City. The invasion takes just hours. By sunrise, Saddam Hussein's army, one of the largest in the world, has seized Kuwait City. Oil wells burn, civilians flee. The Emir of Kuwait escapes to Saudi Arabia. Saddam claims Kuwait as Iraq's 19th province. The world watches in disbelief. President George H.W. Bush stands before the cameras and says one sentence that will echo for decades. This will not stand. Saddam's reasoning, no, at least his version, was complicated. But underneath the political language was something brutally simple: money and power. In the late 1980s, Iraq had just crawled out of an 8-year war with Iran, a war that cost over 1 million lives and left Iraq drowning in debt. Saddam owed billions to Saudi Arabia and Kuwait, 2 nations that had funded him during that war. They had helped him fight Iran because they feared Iran's Islamic revolution might spread. But when the war ended, Saddam expected gratitude. Instead, he got falling oil prices. Kuwait and the United Arab Emirates were accused of producing more oil than OPEC quotas allowed, flooding the market, driving prices down, and cutting Iraq's profits when it needed them most. Every dollar drop in oil prices meant hundreds of millions lost for Iraq, a country trying to rebuild, pay soldiers, and maintain control over a population exhausted by war. Saddam saw this as betrayal. And there was another issue, an old one, simmering for decades. Iraq claimed that Kuwait had been carved from its territory by the British after World War I. To Saddam, Kuwait wasn't just rich, it was stolen. He accused Kuwait of slant drilling, secretly tapping into Iraq's Rumaila oil field by drilling diagonally under the border. He called it economic warfare, and in his mind, the solution wasn't negotiation, it was conquest. Within weeks, an international coalition is forming. 35 nations, 500,000 troops, all converging on the sands of Saudi Arabia. The mission? Protect Saudi Arabia, liberate Kuwait, and push Saddam out. They call it Operation Desert Shield. And for 6 long months, the soldiers wait. Day after day, under a brutal desert sun, building bases, training, planning. But as the months drag on, one question hangs in the air like the heat. When do we go? And when that moment comes, how do you start a war? The answer lies with a secret team, a mix of U.S. Army Apache gunships and Air Force Pave-Low helicopters. Their code name, Task Force Normandy. Their mission is suicidal on paper. Fly more than 100 miles into enemy territory in pitch-black darkness, find 2 radar stations that guard Iraq's border, and destroy them without being detected. If they fail, Iraqi air defenses will light up the sky with missiles, and hundreds of coalition jets could be shot down before they even reach Baghdad. No pressure, right? These pilots start training in total secrecy, deep in the Saudi desert, away from reporters and even other units. They practice flying just 50 feet above the ground. Every move rehearsed, blind. No lights, no flares, just instruments and instincts. One pilot later said, "We could feel the ground in our guts." That's how low we were. They fly the same route over and over, memorizing every turn, every sand dune, every line on the map. The Pave-Low helicopters, huge, lumbering machines, carry advanced navigation gear. They'll lead the Apaches to their targets through the black. The Apaches, on the other hand, they're the knives. Silent, fast, and armed with Hellfire missiles and 30-millimeter cannons. They are the first strike. January 16th, 1991. The order finally comes. The air campaign is ready to begin at exactly 3 a.m. Baghdad time. But first, those radar sites must vanish. At 2:15 a.m., Task Force Normandy lifts off from the Saudi border. 8 helicopters, 19 men flying into the dark. No radio calls, no lights, just the soft glow of cockpit screens and the sound of breath in headsets. The Pave-Lows lead navigating with night vision goggles and early GPS systems that were still experimental. They drift through the night like ghosts. At 2:38 a.m., they cross into Iraq. In front of them, 2 radar sites codenamed Nash and Nod, each guarded by Iraqi troops and surface-to-air missiles. The Apaches fan out into attack formation. Their Hellfire missiles lock onto glowing targets through thermal cameras. Then, a single word crackles through the radio. Fire. The sky erupts. Hellfire missiles streak across the desert, exploding into towers and bunkers. 5 minutes later, it's over. The radars are gone. Iraqi air defenses are blind. Task Force Normandy turns and heads home. Every single pilot makes it back. They've just opened the door for the biggest air assault since World War II. Seconds after those Apaches turn back, the desert sky ignites. Coalition jets, hundreds of them, roar north toward Baghdad. F-117 stealth bombers, F-15, Tornadoes, A-10, B-52s. They've been waiting for that signal, the hole in Iraq's radar coverage. Now, it's open. From aircraft carriers in the Gulf, from runways in Saudi Arabia and even Turkey, waves of jets take off, one after another, forming a continuous chain of thunder. And from ships in the Red Sea, Tomahawk cruise missiles leap into the night, flying low, guided by satellites, weaving around terrain like intelligent predators. Iraq's radar operators are confused. Their screens flicker. Their phones go dead. One by one, their command centers vanish in explosions. The first night of Operation Desert Storm lasts just hours, but it changes everything. By dawn, Baghdad is burning. Iraq's power grid is crippled, and the world has seen something it's never seen before. A war fought by computers, lasers, and satellites. For the first time in history, bombs have eyes. By the end of that first night, Over 1,000 sorties have struck Iraq, and not one coalition plane is shot down by radar-guided missiles. Task Force Normandy's success made it possible. But there's another reason this mission matters. Something more human. In every war, someone has to take the first step into danger. Someone has to break the silence. For these 19 men, that night wasn't just a mission. It was a moment between life and death, between the calm and the storm. One of troops later described looking back toward the horizon as they left Iraq, seeing the entire sky behind them flashing with distant fire. He said quietly, "We lit up the world that night for sure," because he was right. That night didn't just start a war, it started a new kind of war. When the sun rose over the desert that morning, Saudi and American soldiers stepped outside their tents and saw the horizon glowing red. The air smelled of oil and smoke. They didn't know it yet, but the entire shape of modern warfare had changed overnight. Within days, Iraq's communication lines were shattered. Its air force, grounded. Its tanks, targets. And within weeks, the ground assault would begin. A 4-day campaign that liberated Kuwait with stunning speed. But the men of Task Force Normandy were never on TV. Their story stayed classified for years. When it was finally declassified, it read like a movie script, a perfect mission that opened the gates of history. Most of them returned quietly to base, wiped the dust from their helmets, and just went back to work. No medals were given right away, no interviews, no media covers, just silence. And maybe that's fitting, because that's how their war began, in silence. 30 years later, when veterans of Desert Storm talk about that night, their voices still slow down. They talk about the way the desert felt, endless, empty. How the stars seemed close enough to touch. How their hands shook, not from fear, but from what they knew they were about to start. The Gulf War would be remembered for its speed, its precision, its technology, but it began the old-fashioned way, with courage and a handful of men who flew into the unknown. Task Force Normandy, 19 souls who stepped into the dark so the rest could bring the dawn. And when the sky lit up that night, it wasn't just the start of a war. It was the birth of the modern battlefield, the war that began in the dark